Hello, everybody. This is Howard, the Teaser King, coming to you with God only knows what week this is. Week 9 of the NFL, week 10 of college. And I got a bunch of games this week. Now that there's more college, I like looking at what I call the Z teams, which are basically the terrible teams, the New York Jets of college football, and just pounding against them with good offensive teams. And each conference has their Z team and each conference has their strong teams and their over teams, and that's what you look for. So when you get those teams, that's the matchup you're looking for. Weak defenses, no offense, lousy quarterbacks, bad coaches, and you should get the blowout. Um, Last week I did really well in college, hitting the lock. Ohio State over Penn State laying 4, and they won pretty easy. They let them in a little bit at the end, but laying the 4 was fine. And I had BYU against the Z team playing Western Kentucky. They're really not a Z team. They're just an under. They don't score. They have a lousy quarterback. They don't get a lot of points. And I knew BYU scores a lot, and it was a pretty big number. It was like 28, so I went down to 22, and they won 41-10. So that's what a lock looks like. Both of those games. In the pros was a nightmare. Green Bay losing to Minnesota, and Tampa Bay giving up the bullshit touchdown at the end. This is the problem now: is trying to find consistency. I talked about the Lions last week, the Detroit Lions, who have very, uh, very inconsistent. Um, you don't know what they are from one week to the next. New Orleans kills them. They beat Atlanta. They never should have won. They beat Arizona. They never should have won. I mean, it was, it's who knows what team shows up. So that's why you try to go after the Z teams. However, there's a lot more in college than there are in the pros. The only one in the pros are the Jets. Teams like the Giants look better. Washington, who knows? Um, so teams like that are just lousy. Um, so let's look at a good college game for it. I got at least 10 college games this week. It's going to be a big week. Um, well, I'm going to give you a strong game. All right, let's look at Maryland and Penn State. Looking at Penn State, their defense really hasn't come up yet. I mean, forget the Ohio State offense putting up 38 on them. The Indiana offense put up 30 some on them. Obviously, they can score. They put 30 up on Indiana, and then they put up a 25, I think, on Ohio State. So they're playing 60, 70-point games. Here they got Maryland, who looks like a fairly high scoring team. They look good against Minnesota. Oh, excuse me. But then so did Michigan until Michigan played some other team. Um, if I look at Maryland, they scored 24 and they give up 43. With Tug Tagovailoa Jr. as the quarterback, and they're good for 250 yards passing and 173. So it's pretty good balance. And they're playing Penn State, who scores 30 and gives up 37. And I don't remember when I've seen Penn State give up 37 a game. So you got an over team in Penn State playing an over team in Maryland. Maryland scores in the 20s. Well, that's their average, but they give up 43. So I'm looking at a pretty high scoring game here. Penn State puts up 30. Like I said, they put up 25 in Ohio State. They'll put up 40 on Maryland easy, and then Maryland should be able to get to 20 on them. They're pretty wide open offense, and I'm not seeing Penn State's defense do a whole lot. So Penn State's laying 25 over under 63. I like this game over 57. As I said, Penn State probably will get 40 on Maryland easy. And that leaves Maryland, so let's say 45. So Maryland needs 20. For, and that's to get to 65, but you don't even need that. You need 57. So you got Penn State getting 45. You need basically 17 by Maryland, who seems to have somewhat off an offense. Oh, here's me. Sorry, I'm tired. So Maryland, they throw for 250 a game, 173. They run, so they're pretty balanced, and they're going to score. And Penn State, like I said, Penn State's defense is not a super defense. It's not like maybe a Clemson defense or an Alabama defense that we're used to seeing. Like I said, I see at least two locks in college. And I want to quickly talk about Clemson Notre Dame. I know Trevor Lawrence is out. The backup didn't look too bad. He looked terrible in the beginning of the year. They'd bring him in the fourth quarter, and the guy did nothing. I mean, he lost the game for me where he threw a pick six or something or an interception in the first or second week. They should be blowing out teams. They were playing, I think, Vanderbilt or some weak team. And he came in and did nothing. Now he looked pretty good once he got going against Boston College. Boston College got lucky. They returned that fumble 99 yards. Oh my God. Please excuse me. So they returned the fumble 99 yards. But I liked how Clemson came back. And I think against Notre Dame, without the crowd being there, I just don't see Notre Dame beating Clemson. I mean, Clemson, to me, they run a tricky offense. It's not really that good of an offense. It's not a pro. It's a lot of they read the defense and then they go to the weak spot. So it's more of an art of war defense or offense where they're basically like they'll flood one side and run to the other. They'll like find the opening, right? So he gives the ball a running back, and he dances. But if he's not there, then Lawrence would keep the ball if he sees the opening. So the play's predicated like the defense. So if the defense goes right, they go left. If it's deep, they go short. If it's short, they go deep. So they just look at the defense and do whatever the defense, where the weak spot is. It's a very strange offense. I've never really seen anything like it. A lot of quarterback runs, but it's not an Oklahoma wishbone or anything like that. So Notre Dame has not showed me much this year. They barely beat Georgia Tech 31-13. Georgia Tech stinks. I think the key is Clemson's defense. They score 40 a game, give up 15. And when you look at Notre Dame, they score 34 and give up 10. See, they're not scoring like they should. They're only throwing for 198 and they're running for 231, which is the gist of this pick. Is I believe that you're not going to run on Clemson. So Notre Dame's got to throw the ball more and be tricky. And I think they can play with Clemson to a point. But when Clemson gets to okay, we might lose the game, or they get scared of the opponent, like the game against Miami. Miami couldn't even complete a pass. I mean, it was just annihilation. But they don't do it against everybody. They didn't do it against Boston College, they didn't do it against Virginia. So it seems like they don't do it every game, but when they get scared against like a Notre Dame or Miami, then they really crank it up. I don't think it matters home or road for them. And Notre Dame, like I said, if the crowd was there, yeah, Notre Dame might pull the upset. But in this case, I just don't see Notre Dame. They're not really throwing the ball, running the ball all over on Clemson. And I don't see Notre Dame stopping this Clemson offense, even with the backup quarterback. With Lawrence, it'd be a much better, much stronger play if they made 5.5. With Lawrence, they'd probably be laying 10, I would guess, maybe 12. But with the backup, they're laying 5.5. So basically, you got Clemson even. I just don't see Clemson losing to Notre Dame. I just don't think Notre Dame can handle when Clemson, even if they get down, they just find a gear and they just win. And last week's the perfect thing. So I like Clemson. They're laying 5.5. Take the half. I don't know what to do over under because of the backup quarterback. Might be a little lower scoring game. These games tend to be a little bit lower scoring. Um, I'll have a play on Florida, Georgia, Oklahoma, Kansas, Memphis, South Florida, Iowa, Michigan State, Ohio State, Rutgers, um, SMU, Temple. Temple's quarterback's out. Pitt, Florida State. Pitt's quarterback's out. Coastal Carolina is just on a roll. Cincinnati. I mean, I bet them every week, and it's not even close. I mean, they're laying 12 to Memphis, who's a real good team, offensive team anyway. And they killed them. I mean, they beat them 48-10, and this is freaking Memphis we're talking about. So Cincinnati, beware. Very, very strong. Um, Utah State's another one of those Z teams. And will a real Michigan team show up? And who knows what Michigan State's like. See, that's the problem. Michigan State turns it over, loses to Rutgers, gives up 38 points. Just because you turn it over doesn't mean they can score touchdowns. Then they go ahead and play Michigan, and Michigan was so outcoached in the game. It was incredible. The guy kept getting pass interference calls on him, and they left him in the game. And you're like, what are you doing? What, you need to do something besides letting this guy who has no business being in the secondary. Make him a wide receiver or something, or linebacker. Clearly, he has no idea how to cover a guy and not get interference. So get him out of the game. Um, but I think, see, so maybe let's say Michigan State was looking ahead to Michigan against Rutgers and got killed. But now I would think they'd be flat the next week. They're all emotional. They beat Michigan, and now that'll be that. So there's a lot of that. Like I said, the Cincinnati. Um, my Marshall, I love Marshall. They're laying 44 to freaking UMass. Now, UMass, you got to understand, is a high school team. UMass got shut out 41-0 their first game. And the problem is, I think Marshall could kill them by 70. But the problem is, when they pull they're up 40 points, they pull their starters, and UMass gets a freaky touchdown or something. That's what I hate about these 44-point spreads. But I think Marshall will probably handle it. All right, so let's go to the pros. So your right now your pick is take the over in the Penn State Maryland game. Boy, I got quite a few Big Ten games this week. All right, let's look at the pros. A word of advice: I'm not picking the Green Bay Frisco game because Garoppolo's out. Um, but when quarterbacks go out, let's take Dallas, and they don't have a good like Andy Dalton. Maybe this works more in college. They're going to run the ball more and turn it into an under, right? So I don't have a quarterback. I'm just going to hand it off, play it safe, run the ball, and that should eat the clock, rest my defense, and it becomes an under. I don't know if that's going to happen. I would think San Francisco's going to run the ball down Green Bay's throat like they did in the playoff game, especially Garoppolo is out. Although I do like Mullins, he's not a bad backup. But knowing Green Bay and watching the Minnesota game and watching the both Frisco games last year, they can't stop the wind. So if you can run it on them, they can't. It's amazingly how bad Coach Green Bay is that they can't stop a running attack. But I would think San Francisco is just going to pound the ball all game, rest their defense, keep Rodgers on the bench. I would think this would be an under, and I would think this is a good play for Frisco just to keep running. Green Bay's weak road favorite, as I've said, and I just don't see, with Garoppolo out, they're just going to run it down their throats. And I know that some of the running backs are out, but it's that's how I view it. That's what you do is you run it. And Green Bay, who can't stop the run, and we want to keep Rodgers on the bench. This is going to be a Frisco run the ball 50 times, in my opinion. And I could be wrong because they tend to screw me up sometimes, but that's the logical play would be the take the Niners and the 12, and they showed against the Rams they when they need to play, especially at home, and then the under 49 under 55. I mean, Green Bay is an over team, but where were they against Minnesota? I mean, it was ridiculous. Cook running up the middle for 10 yards. I mean, what kind of defense is that? One note: Buffalo Seattle came out, and it was going to be my lock of the year. Take Seattle and 9 points. I said, "Oh, good. I got them as a dog against a weak favorite. Buffalo, barely beat New England, and Seattle's going to get 3, and I'll take them to 9, and that's it. I'm going to lock them in 5 games." And the freaking spread comes out, and Seattle's favored by 3. And I'm like, "Are you serious? How can Seattle be favored at Buffalo? Buffalo's a very good team. They just beat New England. They're winning that. Seattle's got to cross the country, and they make freaking Seattle the favorite." I talk too much here because I got a feeling the casinos listen and they know the trends and they go, okay, we're not going to make Seattle the dog here because we know it's going to cost us a lot of money because I keep saying how strong they are as a road dog. Anyway, so I'm kind of pissed about that. That I thought I was getting Seattle in 9 and I'm not. So I don't know what to do with that game. If I get a Seattle, if it goes down to like a 1.5, I could see taking Seattle in 4.5, 5. But right now, I'm not taking Seattle +3. Although I think Russell Wilson will win the game for him. All right, let's go with the money here. Kansas City playing Carolina laying 10. It was 12, but now it's down to 10. All we got to do is lay 4, ladies and gentlemen. And that's a pretty good number to lay with KC. They lost to Oakland at home. I don't know how, but here they're laying 4, 4.5. They need the game for the 1 seed because remember, Pittsburgh is undefeated and has the 1 seed, and KC. So KC needs to win. So let's look at KC. We can start using the 2020 stats now because we've got 7 games in for most teams. So if I look at KC, 7-1 against the number, 3-1 at home. Their only loss against Oakland is the home favorite, 3-1 against. So they're hitting at 88%. We look at Carolina, who's a good road dog. They're a good dog. They're 6-0 as the dog, 4-0 as the road dog, 6-2 overall, and 5-3 against. So Carolina plays a good road dog. Bridgewater, decent quarterback. He's better than I expected. I thought when they lost McCaffrey, they were going to just go away, but they haven't. So Carolina is still a pretty good scoring team. Let's go back to 19. So 19, KC's 9-3 is a home favorite, but 2 of those were without Mahomes. So let's go 9-1 as a home favorite with Mahomes. 23-4 against the number. That's 85% in a teaser since 2019. So let's make that 23-2 when Mahomes plays. That includes the Super Bowl and the playoffs. Against, they're 15-12. They're 56% against. So you don't want to be betting against KC. And clearly, at 85%, you want to bet KC. Carolina as a road dog, 8-3, overall 15-9, 63%. Now we understand they got a new coach and new quarterback. So as my friend asked me, he goes, "Well, what do you do with the stats?" I mean, so you've got to be leery of the stats, but I think Carolina's mostly pretty similar team. Kansas City's a very similar team, but they've added Le'Veon Bell and they've got Chocolate Eclair in the draft, so they're even better than they were. Because when you can run, now how do you defend Mahomes, man? We got to play him for the run. He'll eat you alive. If you play for the pass, Chocolate Eclair runs for 150 yards a game. They're going to kill you either way. So they're 23-4. So let's go back to 18, which is I think Mahomes' first year, and 18-4 is a home favorite, which would be 18-2 in the Mahomes game. 38-7, 84% since 2018. So it's really 38-5 in Mahomes games. So you're again looking at an 85% team in a teaser since 2018. And that's about all you need to see. Carolina, 12-4 is a road dog. That's pretty good. 75%, 9-7 against. So just setting it up, you want to take KC at a decent number here. It's 10. That's a decent number. They're obviously very good in a teaser. They're obviously very good at home as a favorite. They're good everywhere. I mean, they're 12-3 as a road favorite, 6-0 as a road dog, 2-0 as a home dog. So it's just hard to believe, but they're 84%. We can go back to 17, but you don't have Mahomes, so this is where it gets tricky. And there's some good road dogs. Here's some good road dogs as long as I'm talking road dogs. Guess who one of the best road dogs are? The New York freaking Giants are 23-3 as a road dog. Jesus Christ, since 2017. That's unbelievable. It's weird, but I guess they get big numbers. And as you saw in the Tampa game, here they cover somehow. I mean, it made Tampa kicked way too many field goals. They weren't motivated. They'll be motivated for New Orleans, but it's a Monday night, although there was no crowd. So they're 23-3. Baltimore's 11-0 as a road dog. Houston 20-4. San Diego 18-1, which we all know about because every time they're a road dog, we bet a fortune on them. KC 8-1 and Seattle, the champ, 17-1 as a road dog. Unbelievable. So I mean that's what you're looking for. And again, you take the stats at the mercy because you do have changes. But as long as the coach is like now it's hard to look at Tampa Bay because now you got Brady, which you didn't have before. Same coach, but now it's Brady. So Brady, you almost look at 2020 and you just use those stats. So if I look at Brady this year, they're 6-2. They lost at New Orleans the first week, and then the Giants here. The reason I locked Tampa last week because they were very strong as a road favorite, and the Giants is a bet against home dog. Well here. So since 18, the Giants as a bet against home dog was 11-1, and Tampa as a road favorite was 5-0. And so that's what predicated it. Plus, Tampa needed the game after New Orleans won in Chicago, made it vital they win, and that's the effort they give you. You just scratch your head going, man. I mean, they should have covered and won the game. It was a lock, but that's the problem sometimes. They're up 8, they give up the touchdown, and with 23 seconds left. So it was hard to swallow a little bit. So I had to get over that. Uh, let's look at the juicy stats. So Kansas City scores 32 a game, gives up 19. They're a plus 13. What I like is they're very high scoring, obviously 32, but they only give up 19. Their defense is playing very strong. Um, they're they're very well balanced. They throw for 286. They run for one and a quarter, and in the pros, one and a quarter is very strong, and they get 410 yards a game. So that's what the difference between the good teams and the bad teams. There's Kansas City, 410 yards a game, and we look at the Jets, and they get 259 yards a game. They can't even throw for 200 yards, and they run for 103. The Jets. They score 12 a game and give up 30, and you wonder why they're so bad. Is just look at their offense. When you have a bad offense, you can't rest your defense. So their defense really giving up 30 isn't as bad as it looks, but it's bad. Their offense stinks. So that's what you're looking for. So when you look at KC, not only do you see, so let's compare KC to the Jets. They throw for 286, the Jets 155. They run for 124, the Jets 103, and their totals 410. The Jets 259, and you can see why Kansas City has one loss and the Jets can't win a game. I mean, it's very simple. You've got to be able to run the ball. They need a quarterback. Darnell's terrible. It's funny. I keep hearing, "Oh, I wouldn't draft Lawrence. I'd keep Darnell. Darnell's really good." And I'm like, what in God's name do you see about Darnell that is any good? I just can't understand that. But let me quickly get back to this. So Kansas City, we can see is 32-19. We go back down to Carolina. And Carolina only scores 22 a game, 10 points less. And then they give up 24, and KC only gives up 19. So KC's better offense by 10 points, better defense by 5 points. Bridgewater, he throws for 250 a game, which isn't bad. They run for 110, so they're only getting 360, where Kansas City's 410, so they're 50 yards better, and it's mostly they're 40 yards better in passing. And so that's what you have. You have a big edge for KC at home. Carolina's a good road dog, but I don't see how they're going to win this game. I don't see Kansas City. They had a letdown. The reason Oakland beat them was they had just played Baltimore and New England, two very emotional games, two very emotional wins. And so when Kansas City, they're like Clemson, man. When they get focused and they get scared, oh, we're playing Baltimore, we might lose, they turn it on and they kick their butt. But when they play Oakland after two big games and Oakland's all fired up because they still think it's the 70s and there's a rivalry with the Chiefs and Hank Stram. I mean, I don't know that there's a rivalry anymore, but that's what you see. So Oakland comes in all fired up. KC could care about Oakland because Oakland's not very good. And so that's where you get the upset. But if they play them again, it ain't going to be pretty for Oakland because KC will remember and not take them as lightly as they did. So that's your stats. So according to my variance, which is offense minus defense, the best teams Kansas City, and then Tampa, and then Baltimore and Pittsburgh are dead even. And I gave you Pitt last week. The dog in those games is beautiful. Um, so at least I hit the Pitt game for everybody. Um, that's why you look at the trends. The trend was Pitt in the series. Pitt was very strong dog, and I keep telling you, Baltimore, for some reason, who knows, they're a terrible home favorite. They're terrible at it. I don't understand why they're so bad, but then they're a great road favorite. Let's look at the quarterbacks. So we've got um, Boy, Justin Herbert's really doing good. He's 67% throwing, which again I question, but he throws a lot of long balls and 15 touchdowns and 5 picks. So he's doing good. They made San Diego go from an under team to really now they're an over team. Okay, Mahomes, 67%, 21 touchdowns and 1 interception. That is what a all-pro quarterback stats look like. 21 and 1. That's for giggle. Look at Sam Darnold, 58%, 3 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Who would you rather have? Are you seriously telling me Darnell's good? 3 touchdowns and 6 picks, sacked 19 times and 59% in a game now where you get in the high 60s because half these passes are these little sideline pass that doesn't even go across the line of scrimmage, or these little where they pooch it in front to the running back cutting across and they call it a pass for some reason. But it's not hard to get 65% anymore. And to him to get 50, 58.6, you've got to be kidding me. So let's go to Carolina because that's what we're talking about. Teddy Bridgewater. Now he's 71.6%. That's a better quarterback, but he's got 9 touchdowns and 6 picks. So he's not getting the productivity getting touchdowns. Without McCaffrey, they're probably not running as strong, and he's got 6 interceptions. So that's the problem. You got one quarterback that's, what did we say, 21 and 1, and you got the other quarterback at 9 and 6. So not only does he only have 9 touches, he's got 6 interceptions. Mahomes 1. So that's the big key. The quarterback's always the key. Chocolatey clear, the running back. Go figure out how to play defense against them because you can't. When they're balanced like that, you cannot stop any team that's balanced. Like, oh, look at Green Bay, Minnesota, right? Minnesota ran it down their throat. Green Bay never adjusted, took the run away, which I would have done because Kirk Cousins can't throw the ball, and made Cousins beat you. Instead, they let Cook beat him. That's why they have a lousy coach in Green Bay. Anyway, so that's the thing. When you have a balanced attack, very, very difficult to defend them. And they'll stay on the field a long time, which means their defense is rested. Anytime you can run the ball, you can rest your defense. You're going to win most of those games, especially if you have a good defense like Kansas City. So here's why Minnesota loses. Kirk Cousins, 12 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Here's why Philadelphia can barely win. 12 touchdowns for Wentz, 12 interceptions. I mean, this is unacceptable. Arizona, Kyler Murray, you think he's great. 13 touchdowns, 7 picks. He's not. I mean, so that's what you got to watch out for. You got bad quarterbacking. Anyway, so that's the pick. Take Kansas City. Their money. This is what they do. They cover, they cover, they cover. And you're laying 4 in the game, which is, under a touchdown. 4 is not bad with all these 2-point conversion plays. You can get to these 4 numbers, not too difficult. Anyway, if it was 7, it would be a lock, down to 1, 8 down to 2, but you're at 10. You're not really going anywhere. You're giving 4, so you're beating 6 and 7, which is good, but it's a game they should probably win by, I'd say 14 points. That's about right. Otherwise, let's see some good trends. The New Orleans Tampa game. New Orleans is again, New Orleans and the dog is 7 and 1. But again, this is when New Orleans plays Tampa. The problem is Tom Brady. He's not there for those. So you kind of can't. You can kind of superficially look at New Orleans and say, well, in the series they're good, they're the side to go on. But you got Tom Brady, and he wants to get revenge for the first week's loss to New Orleans, and I think it's all up to the receiver, Thomas. If Thomas plays for New Orleans, yeah, I think they're a live dog. If he doesn't, and they lost the other receiver, and I mean the Bears took them to overtime. I see Tampa Bay winning this game. I don't know about 10, but I think they win it. Be careful of the injuries. Pitt Dallas. Let's see who if Dalton's starting or not. If he's not playing and Ben Cassidy's playing or whoever, um, you know, I think Pitt kills him because basically Dallas, they don't even look like a good team anymore. I mean, Philadelphia is killing them. Um, the Giants, Washington again. The Giants, strong road dog. They're 15-1 in the series, so they're a good play here. They're a good dog. And they obviously played Tampa good, so I don't see Washington blowing them out. I don't see Washington blowing anybody out. Um, Detroit Mini's 19-3 in the series. That's a good trend because that's consistent. Stafford and you've got Kirk Cousins, Cook's playing, so they're going to run it down their throat, and they're only laying 4. You get 2, and that's about it. Um, so be careful with New England. They are the play there, but that's with Brady, and Brady's not there anymore. New England just doesn't look like the same team. And Edelman's out. Newton's terrible. He just wants to run the ball, and this is the problem with running quarterbacks that I keep saying. Look at Jackson last week. Didn't they lose? Baltimore. Yeah, well, they played Pitt and lost. But again, Jackson throws a couple picks, and he hurts you more than he helps you. I mean, yeah, he ran a little bit, but Pitt's defense shut him down. And when they got to the 5 yard line at the end of the game, what does he do? He tries to run. Of course, they're keying on him, and he doesn't make it, and they lose the game. You don't win with that type of quarterback. It looks nice, it's pretty, but it doesn't win. Anytime he plays a good team with a good defense and a good offense, they don't win. So that's my comment on Baltimore and Jackson. All right, everybody. Well, have a great week. Hopefully, the election will be over in the next couple of weeks, or by Christmas, we'll have a winner. As long as we can keep betting football and keep working, that's all I care about. So again, take the Penn State Maryland game over, and take Kansas City Chiefs minus the 4. I don't really see a lock in the pros. Again, maybe Seattle if they go down to 1 or something. Um, and that's about it. I can't see Arizona, Miami. I can't play Miami with Tug Tagliavue. He sucked. He was like 8 of 16 for. He barely got 100 yards in the game. I ain't betting on that guy. But Kyle Murray's just as bad. He throws too many interceptions. And Miami looks like they have a good defense. So I don't really see a lock in the pros. And I don't want to lock just to lock, just so I can say I have one. Maybe there's one I can lock, but I do see 3 college teams I can definitely lock. And I love two games I love, and then possibly um, one other game that I can throw out there. So for sure, I have 2 locks, possibly 3 in the college. And again, when people buy from me, you can't look at 1 week. I mean, anything can happen in a week. I can go 17-1. I could go 9-3. I mean, but you can't go, oh, he went 9-3, so I can't come back. You've got to look at it as a long-term thing. You also got to look at it like the stock market, where when you buy a stock, it might go down 1 week and then go back up. There's a lot of variables at play. And you really got to play me for a long period of time because then overall I'm going to be a winner. But in any one individual statistic or 1 week and 5 picks, you can't really base it on that. Either you see I can pick, which you can see on my YouTubes, or you don't think I can pick. But if you do think I can pick, you can't look at 1 week sample size, 5, 6 games, and go, oh, whatever. So try to keep that in mind. That it's a long process. You want to get a good 7,500 games, and then you see, oh, I went 70 and 30. But in the 30 losses, you're going to get losses. It happens. Um, but what do you do with it? So you got to look at the 70 wins, not the 30 losses. So anyway, just keep that in mind. Hopefully these two win. I need to get my good vibe on my YouTubes. Make everybody some money on my YouTubes. All right, everybody. Well, have a good weekend. A lot of football. College. It's Wednesdays tonight. There's Thursday. There's Friday and Saturday, and everybody's playing again. So I got to watch the Mid American and the Pac-10 to see. Okay, where's my A teams? Where's my Z teams? Because it's like Arkansas. They're like a Z team last year, and you figure they're a Z team this year. And after a few weeks, you realize Vanderbilt's the Z team, Mississippi State's the Z team, and Arkansas is a pretty good team. So that's why you've got to watch 3, 4 weeks of these teams to get an idea. Really, the change, usually it's a coaching change, right? Arkansas changes coaches, goes to a pretty good passing coach, and then they bring in a quarterback, Felipe Franks from Florida, because he got beat out by Trask. So that's what you gotta. That's how it happens. It's always the coach. If Urban Meyer were to take over, name a team, Oregon State, I guarantee you they would only have one loss this year. He would find a way to bring in talent, and they wouldn't lose. So it's always the coach. You get a good coach, you're going to win. You get a bad coach, you're going to lose. Period. So keep that in mind. It's college and pros. All right, everybody, have a great day and a great weekend. And I would definitely buy my college this week. Pros are a little bit difficult to matchups, but I got about 5 or 6 games, and depending on line movements and stuff like that. All right, everybody, take care. www.teaserking.com.